Kia ora, talofa, namaste, haere mai, and welcome to the Niche Cache. We are here to discuss Aotearoa sporting matters as we always do, and having put the ACL curse on the one and only Samba last week, I'm going to see what the bad juju forces are capable of this week, because the big Donny, brother Bevon, has been on fire. And I think the biggest
This is
Aotearoa...
about Maya Bevon scoring his first goal in Cambodia, right?
First goal? No,
Yeah, it
that's...
was his first goal.
Oh,
Moses Dias scored
yeah.
a whole bunch of them. They actually rested him on the weekend and then only drew and snapped winning streaks, so they learned a lesson there. But Maya Bevon's joined him over there and he did score, fresh from winning a title in New Zealand National League with Auckland City.
Same team? Moses Dyer, Maya Bevon?
No, rivals.
I think we need to get a bit more Cambodian football action in our Flying Kiwis discussion later on. But brother Bevon Jacobs, is just doing some crazy stuff in the Super Smash. 5 innings and 5 50-plus scores. In the, like, they keep running the stat graphics, and along with one of my least favorite things about the Super Smash is Mr. Stevenson dropping all sorts of nicknames, like he's the best buddies with all these guys, and
Yep.
it is a little bit confusing, like what kind of name we're working with Bevon Jacobs, because obviously Mr. Stevenson is only going to call him Bevon John Jacobs, because he's his best friend, as well as everyone else's best friend by the sounds of it. But yes, Bevon Jacobs, sometimes known as Bevon John Jacobs, sometimes known as BJ Jacobs, sometimes known as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu BJJ. They keep running his stats like, oh, he's averaging 109. That's pretty crazy, but sometimes that happens with small sample sizes. He's got 300 runs. Oh, yeah, that can work. All you need to know is he's batted 5 times. He's got 550s. That's it. And this dude is doing some crazy stuff, as I said. Scores so far in the Super Smash. He's got a 55, a 54, a 53, 88 not out, 78 not out. 2 not outs in his last 2 innings after getting 3 50-odd scores in a row. And of course, because it's Bevon Jacobs, strike rate goes all right as well. 173.5. What do you think Bevon Jacobs is averaging in T20 batting right now?
Oh, damn. I looked this up while he was batting yesterday, and now I can't remember less than 24 hours later. So I'm gonna say 38.
40.4.
Crazy stuff.
With a strike rate of 150. He's averaging 40 in T20 batting with a strike rate of 150 after 28 innings. So he's got a nice sample size there. He's on fire. And the beautiful thing about Bevon Jacobs, brother Bev, is that he's just a pure batter. You can look at his T20 stuff and think, oh, he's averaging 40, strike rate of 150. This dude just tonks it everywhere. He certainly tonks it everywhere. I can't argue against that. But as we've seen in the Super Smash, and I think the Otago coach, Josh Tasman-Jones, talked about this yesterday, he basically mapped out the Bevon Jacobs innings. So he'll probably get to 20 off 19, and then he'll start to build it up. You know, you get to 30 off 25 and then start to build it up. That's all he's done. Especially in the last 2 innings, finishing not out. He gave Auckland a chance against Canterbury, but that total was just too big. And then he guided Auckland home to victory against Otago. But in case you have been floating face down in the mainstream, you might have missed that Bevon Jacobs is also averaging 53.2 in first-class batting. Now, the only other dude with a similar first-class record on the rise in Aotearoa is Reece Murray. But Reece Madiu has only just stacked up a couple games in the Super Smash for Canterbury. He has played 5 T20s. And he was not in Canterbury's first 11, but then he did step into their first 11, couple of outs for them, and he did hit a very nice 43 in that game against Auckland. So the only dude with a comparable first-class average in the emerging bracket is a guy who, to this point, has been super specialized in first-class batting, scoring big first-class runs, double centuries, lots of centuries, which makes you wonder maybe Bevon Jacobs is actually better than Reece Madiu. Maybe Bevon Jacobs is the premium emerging batter in Aotearoa, and I kind of find that to be the case. Let's go Plunkett Shield this season. Bevon Jacobs is Auckland's leading run scorer, averaging 54, strike rate of 81. And if you compare that, so the other Auckland batter in the Plunkett Shield who has over 300 runs is Cam Fletcher. They both have 300 plus runs. They both average 54-ish. Jacobs has a strike rate of 81. Fletcher's got a strike rate of 42. That's what Bevon Jacobs is doing in Plunkett Shield. Don't worry too much about the strike rate because Bevon Jacobs is so classy that he just rolls with the format. He also has a Ford Trophy 50-plus score, but just one in 5 innings, compared to Super Smash where he's got 5 and 5. But he's still averaging a healthy 32.5 in the Ford Trophy this season. One-day record of 25.3 average with a strike rate of 100, which is like Rachin Ravindra's average is twice that. He's averaging over 40 on this day batting with a strike rate over 100. So like these are the zones that Bevon Jacobs is operating in. No one's touching his T20 stuff. Like there's no emerging batter with a strike rate of 40. Average of 40, strike rate of 150. That's not happening anywhere in T20 batting in New Zealand anyway, let alone the youngsters. And I do find it funny, like comparing, I just find it funny watching Martin Guptill bat, for example. Like that dude looks so out of touch with Super Smash cricket, and you just know that he's going to get out, and Bevon Jacobs is going to come to the crease and make it look so much more easy, which I think tells the story of New Zealand cricket right now. Because everyone loves Guppy. Why isn't Guppy in the T20 World Cup squad? Not this T20 World Cup squad, the last T20 World Cup squad, when he got dropped, and we haven't missed him since. Do you remember that kerfuffle? Like, Finn Allen selected ahead of Martin Guptill, even though they went to Martin Guptill's old school, announced the T20 World Cup squad at his old school. He was in the squad, but didn't play because Finn Allen played. Everyone was worried about Guppy, and Guppy's gone on to do absolutely nothing to suggest he should not have been cut from the Blackcaps. Because now we got guys like Bevon Jacobs, who has unrivaled T20 batting, decent one-day record with a similar strike rate to Rachin Ravindra, and the only other dude who's got a similar first-class record is Reece Madiu. This is crazy Bevon Jacob stuff, and of course, because a lot of New Zealand cricket fans, whether they're still worried about the previous generation or they want Guppy in the team, they view Doug Bracewell as some sort of cricketing hero. A lot of Kiwi cricket fans are like stressed. You can feel their anxiety. You can feel their fear that has been deep inside them, like Warriors fans for 20 years, 30 years of just like bad shit happening or bad decisions being made. We don't need to like rush these guys into the Blackcaps. And yes, we could look at this and say Bevon Jacobs needs to be in the T20 World Cup squad, as we talked about on our bonus podcast last Thursday, which was recorded fresh after the T20 World Cup squad was announced, because that's what we do strictly for the Patreon whānau. And those with a paid Substack subscription, either go to patreon.com/our niche cache, sign up to our newsletter, thenichecache.substack.com. They are great ways to help us do what we would do. A couple of dollars a month, and you're funding the niche cache, but then you access our Thursday podcast as well. We talked about the fact that Bevon Jacobs averaged less than 15 with strike rates of less than 100 in his first two T20 jobs around the world. One was last summer, then he had the Caribbean Premier League midway through 2025. So yes, Bevon Jacobs is on fire. Yes, Bevon Jacobs is one of the best batters straight up in Aotearoa right now. He hasn't really done anything outside of New Zealand. And that was the same thing for Tim Robinson. Tim Robinson and Bevon Jacobs, they have done something outside New Zealand because they had a fantastic innings together when no one was watching in the Zimbabwe Tri-Series against South Africa. Not against Zimbabwe, against South Africa. They were awesome there. And if you were watching, you would have seen some of the craziest sixes prior to the summer, when we've seen even more crazier sixes because Aotearoa is really good at cricket. Aside from that innings, Tim Robinson hasn't really done anything outside of New Zealand either. So that's just me thinking, why aren't these dudes in the T20 World Cup squad? I'm trying to put myself in the Blackcaps decision makers, selectors, and coaching shoes. Why aren't they in the T20 World Cup squad? Because there are more proven international T20 batters available. Would I select Finn Allen over Tim Robinson right now? Yes. Would I select Tim Seifert over Tim Robinson right now? Yes. Would I select Daryl Mitchell, Mark Chapman, Glenn Phillips over Bevon Jacobs? Yes. Would I select Jimmy Neesham over Bevon Jacobs? Yes, because Jimmy Neesham's a bowler. Bevon Jacobs doesn't bowl. That's why Neesham's in the squad, because he's a bowler. But this is the thing about New Zealand cricket, is we don't need to rush guys who are scoring runs, taking wickets, into the Blackcaps. My whole life, we have looked at Australian cricket and been like, holy cow, that dude has come into the Australian team. Obvious example, what's his name? First name? Hussey?
Mike Hussey?
Mike Hussey. Michael. David.
Mike Hussey. Mike Hussey.
We've looked at those type of cricketers and been like, wait, where did that guy come from? He's averaging 45, 50 in first class batting, and he couldn't even make the Australian team. I'm not saying we're there yet with New Zealand cricket, but that is the situation we are approaching, where the level to get into the Blackcaps is so high that you need to be dominating domestic cricket to a disgusting degree. Take the bowlers. Will O'Rourke, Ben Sears, Nathan Smith. Well, they need to all be doing better than Kyle Jamieson and Matt Henry and Jacob Duffy. There are no, like, as long as you've been a proven Blackcaps performer, aside from that, which many of these dudes are, and that's the point, it's very hard to get in. It's very hard to be selected ahead of someone who has done the job at the international level. Unless you've been a proven performer, you will have to wait for your opportunity, and you'll keep needing to score runs and take wickets, and that should be celebrated. But you can look at the Blackcaps and just think, oh, we got all these other dudes ready to go. And all Bevon Jacobs can do is score heaps of runs, and he's doing it. And that's all we can ask for. And the beautiful thing about someone like Bevon Jacobs is, yes, he did get an IPL contract. And I did have a chuckle at one of the other, there was a media entity in New Zealand who are floating face down in the mainstream. I saw one of their little clips from when Bevon Jacobs got an IPL contract. And they said, Bevon Jacobs is the next Finn Allen. No. No. Because what Bevon Jacobs has done since getting an IPL contract and then not playing in the IPL and then not getting an IPL contract the next time around is he has become twice as good, 3 times as good, 4 times as good at cricket batting. And all Bevon Jacobs has said this whole time is he wants to play Test cricket for New Zealand. All Bevon Jacobs has told us is that he is not too stressed about chasing T20 money as a job. He wants to represent Aotearoa. And like all the other youngsters we're seeing in the Super Smash, these people, men and women, are good people. Their priorities are representing Aotearoa, doing the best for Aotearoa, being part of Aotearoa cricket. And I think that is often overlooked, that not only are these youngsters in Aotearoa cricket fantastic cricketers, because what's Bevon Jacobs doing in the Super Smash? The best batter in the Super Smash is patrolling the boundary. He's racking up kilometres. He's taking catches. He's moving in and grooving in the field, probably because that's what he's going to do for the Blackcaps. All we're hearing is team first mentality. We're hearing manners on the mic. We're seeing cricketing excellence. We're hearing and reading that the priorities for these young cricketers like Bevon Jacobs is representing Aotearoa. Test cricket, ODI cricket, T20 international cricket. And because you can think, okay, Bevon Jacobs didn't get an IPL contract this time, hasn't played in the IPL, Bevon Jacobs must obviously suck. No. IPL auctions suck. And since then, Bevon Jacobs has got way better, and now that's just going to be funneled into Aotearoa cricket. Not necessarily representing the Blackcaps, because he's got to wait till the T20 series against India to do that, but Aotearoa cricket, because anyone else, Reece Mariu has to be better than Bevon Jacobs. Curtis Heafy, better than Bevon Jacobs. Matt Boyle's a fantastic young batter. Is he better than Bevon Jacobs, Reece Mariu, Mohamed Abbas, or Curtis Heafy? I don't know. Mitch Hayes, the Blackcaps wicketkeeper right now. If he slips up, Max Chew's going to get an opportunity. Ben Pomari's getting an opportunity. Let alone the seamers. And I'll throw one little funky thing at you before I start ranting and raving. The Blackcaps seam attack for their first ODI against India. We had, and I'm focusing on like a seam trio. Kyle Jamieson, Zach Volks, Christian Clark. At no stage in the last 18 months did I think that would be a New Zealand Blackcaps seam trio. Right, Kyle Jamieson, he's always, he's going to be there. Well, Zach Volks has come out of domestic cricket to become an all-format Blackcap, playing a lot of good cricket. And Christian Clark, he's there. He's in the Blackcaps. What were we saying about the Test team? I never thought we'd see a seam attack of, what was it? Jacob Duffy, Zach Volks, and Michael Ray. Well, there's only one crossover between those two attacks, and that's Zach Volks. And then I look at Canterbury's Super Smash bowling unit, seam bowling unit. I might actually need to pull this up because I don't know if I can drop it off the top of the dome. Canterbury's seam attack, just a hot trio, and I'm going to respectfully leave out Sean Davey, very good domestic seamer. Canterbury, Fraser Sheet, Cameron Paul, and Lachlan Harper. Who the fuck is Lachlan Harper? Who has just come out of nowhere and smacking sixes and taking wickets for Canterbury. Cameron Paul, obviously the young freaky youngster, really good at cricket. And Fraser Sheet. Let's see what Fraser Sheet's doing. He's got a first-class bowling average of 28.4, one-day bowling average of 27.7. He's had 46 first-class games and only 9 T20s because he couldn't crack Canterbury's T20 bowling unit because they had Kyle Jamieson, Zach Volks, Will O'Rourke, and all these other dudes. Well, now Fraser Sheet's come into the Canterbury team and he's doing his job for Canterbury. So we got all these funky seam combinations around Aotearoa led by the Blackcaps, also evident in Canterbury. And if I'm fired up, so I might as well just keep going. Who's the best bowler in Super Smash?
This season, I don't know. Fraser Sheet was taking a bunch of wickets, wasn't he? Well, he'd be near the top.
He's all right.
Okay.
Harjot Johal.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Do you know who he is?
He's Auckland, right?
Yeah, and he's really good at cricket.
That's the extent of my knowledge.
This is his first season of T20 bowling. 10 wickets, averaging 12. Already got 7 wickets, averaging 28 in first class bowling. Already got a first class 50. Angus Oliver, Auckland seamer. Very impressive. Another one of these impressive youngsters where all you hear about Angus Oliver is how much he loves playing cricket, specifically for Auckland. Anytime anyone talks about Angus Oliver, they talk about his passion and everything he does for the team. He's averaging 16.6 with the ball in T20 bowling. Cameron Paul, as we've talked about, fantastic young cricketing talent. 21 years old. He's averaging 18.1 in T20 bowling. Yaya Zeb, he's having a good season. Like, we could go on and on with these dudes. And while I've got a bit of Wellington Pakistaniness on my mind with Yaya Zeb, I do feel like Aotearoa is usually the case, unless you're dipping into some half Pākehā, half Palangi matters where they seem to be very antagonistic. We're peaceful beings. We are here for world peace, and I can't help but think when I'm watching Muhammad Abbas, Pakistani origin, and Rachin Ravindra, Indian origin, batting together, that could solve international conflicts.
And if they solve those international conflicts, the Black Caps might have won the Champions Trophy last year. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's a roll-on effect here.
Future planning. We need Muhammad Abbas
That's it.
And Ravindra to be best friends, bring together Pakistan and India, and then maybe we can rewind to the 2025 Champions Trophy where India had a clear advantage and didn't have to leave Dubai.
And then beat us in the final. I like the look of Angus Oliver as you're running through those players. And I did get frustrated. It just reminded me of an allusion to what you're saying at the start there about a certain commentator. There was like I was writing and I was also listening at the TV on the background. So I'm sure they would have put like a little graphic across saying who it was, but they were interviewing someone and all I just heard was old mates calling him Gussie, 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 Gussie the whole time. I'm like, yeah, bro, who are you talking to? What is the guy's name? I want to like, what's the context here? Which I could, figure it out eventually. Once you start talking about
there's a few Gussies going around. We got Angus Shaw.
Well, that's it. At first I was
Angus
like,
Oliver.
is this, yeah, like that's annoying. I've been annoyed by the same thing as you've independently been annoyed without either of us talking about this. So that's clearly there's something going on there. I did laugh though when they put old mate because same bloke was assuring us that he ran into Guppy, of course, at the airport, and Guppy was telling him, "No, I'm in great form at the moment. I'm seeing the ball so well. I'm just just keep getting out early. I don't know what it is." It's like, okay, well, because Auckland are batting you at 3, bro. Like you're not actually you're not even batting in your preferred position. So I'm not convinced about that personal testimony, but I did think it was funny when they mic'd him up and then he got out for a duck. So very entertaining game of cricket yesterday. I was also wondering about what the actual like crossover between Fenelon and BJ Jacobs could be, apart from they both got IPL contracts and then like basically didn't play. They both smashed the ball, although they smashed the ball in different ways because Fenelon really like throws his whole body into the ball, and Bevon Jacobs is just like he hits an effortless six, but he hits it so hard it goes flying over the boundary. It's crazy stuff. They both played for Auckland at some point in their career, and they're both right-handed bats. That kind of is about it. Like when you mention that, I'm thinking of way more differences than I'm thinking of similarities, which again, like goes to show the extent that some people think about these things before scrapping up a headline. I will admit, because you'd mentioned his record outside of New Zealand last time when we're talking about him. So I did think about that while I was watching him over the last couple of innings. And I still had that same inkling of like, yeah, right, like, I mean, I get why he's not in the team, but someone gets injured. I think that's the first name I'm thinking of, the informed guy, even if he hasn't necessarily done that, because it does feel like that's inevitable. That's not this guy has a Mark Chapman-esque or Henry Nicholls-esque in Test cricket home and away disparity type thing where this is going to be an issue for their career. It just feels like a young cricketer thing where it's like he just hasn't played enough in different situations to have had the opportunities to put up big scores. That's an inevitability. And yeah, if I don't know, Mark Chapman himself or someone like that were to strain a hamstring over the course of this India series that he's currently playing for the Blackcaps, I think Bevon Jacobs is the dude I'm hoping to see get the summons for the T20 World Cup afterwards. But there is a hierarchy there, and that hierarchy is there for a reason. And that hierarchy is going to make Bevon Jacobs a better player for having to reach higher levels in order to get into the Blackcaps as well. So we don't need to jump the queue here. We can just be excited about what he's doing in Super Smash, because 5 straight 50s, including a couple not outs in there, I genuinely don't think I've ever seen that before in Super Smash cricket. I don't know if anyone has the ability to find those kind of stats, but I'm sure that if it's not unique, the only person I could think of who's done stuff like that would maybe be Devon Conway just prior to getting into the Blackcaps.
I actually read that it was Devon Conway.
Okay, well, that would make sense because and again, maybe Devon Conway and Bevon Jacobs might actually have more in common than Fenelon and Bevon Jacobs, come to think of it.
Is that Fenelon who is averaging 20.9 in first class batting and has never been able to hold down a consistent Plunkett Shield batting role for Auckland?
That would be the main difference I thought of between the two. There's also the fact that Bevon Jacobs isn't an opening batter, Fenelon is a part-time wicketkeeper, like a bunch of different things you can add on top of that.
But that's
their
Fenelon
international pedigree by the time they got to IPL as well is another thing. But yeah,
it's Fenelon who is an opening batter, but could never really be an opening batter for Auckland in the Plunkett Shield because he wasn't good enough, and then he dropped down the order and he still didn't score runs for Auckland. Doesn't have a first class century, only has 450s, as I said, averaging 21. And people are like stressed when someone like Fenelon changes his contract status. Well, why did Fenelon change his contract status? Because he doesn't really do anything else except smash boundaries, and that's not good enough to get you consistent selection in Auckland. So then if you need to be making money as a cricketer and you're not playing consistently for Auckland in the Plunkett Shield, what are you going to do? You're going to find another T20 job. No dramas, all good. But Fenelon's awesome at smashing boundaries, and I would always have Fenelon in my T20 team because that's his job. His job is smashing boundaries around the world, different conditions on the T20 job circuit.
And you're never going to get a Fenelon innings where he starts 20 off 19 and then accelerates or whatever. Like that's...
Well, he's not batting in the middle.
It's not his job.
It's a different role. But
no, exactly. Well, that's the point.
He's going to like
roles. They each do their thing.
Fenelon, he's going to smash 20 off 10, and it's going to be job done. And yeah, like the T20 World Cup squad, because we've got Devon Conway, Tim Seifert, Fenelon, Rachin Ravindra, who are like the top order batters. the weakest T20 batter there is Rachin Ravindra. And it's a funky situation about Rachin Ravindra because T20 internationals averaging 20.3, strike rate of 134. T20 Korea, 108 innings, he's averaging 20.2, strike rate of 139. I want Rachin Ravindra in my team, especially going to India for a major tournament, because that's all we've seen from Rachin Ravindra is how he dominates the big stage. So I'm happy, and he's just one of the straight up best batters in Aotearoa, so I'm happy to have him in the squad. But if there is a player who we're looking at to get out of the squad, which is a weird thing, it is Rachin Ravindra. So the best batter in Aotearoa who is desperate to play for Aotearoa, which excludes someone, is Rachin Ravindra. But he might be the weakest top order player in the T20 team. So when you're thinking about, oh, how can we get Tim Robinson in? Maybe even how do we get Bevon Jacobs in? It's probably going to be Rachin Ravindra. Especially when we're dealing in the top order. Bevon Jacobs is more middle order. So then you're getting into your Daryl Mitchells, your Glenn Phillips, Mark Chapman. And I've got no issues with those dudes getting the opportunity for a major tournament, given what I said about how Bevon Jacobs is still developing. He's still learning his T20 batting craft, as we've seen. And of course, I think his last T20 international innings for New Zealand, obviously, was that innings against Australia where he scored 20 off 19, I think, which was part of the Bevon Jacobs recipe. And a lot of people weren't happy with Bevon Jacobs in that innings, but he was doing what he always does, really, looking back on it.
Yeah, sometimes you kick on and sometimes you don't kick on. Speaking of young phenoms, though, there was a dude we talked about a bit at the start of the season for the sort of reputation he had prior to first-class cricket. Then he got a bunch of games with Northern.
There's another one?
Yeah. Another one, just one of many. I mean, I could probably name you 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 if you really want. But
are you talking Matt Fisher?
Since we've talked, no, he's already played Test cricket. Come on,
Tim Pringle,
not in the Netherlands World Cup squad. I noticed this morning. Tim Pringle. That might be an interesting little future tweak himself. Yeah, there's a few. It's not Aryan Man either. It's not Ben Mare, but
Scott Kugelin?
After Xavier Bell didn't score any Plunket Shield runs at the start, but we know the reputation that the guy had. I was watching the other day when he smashed a 50 of 18 deliveries. So, and that was some clean hitting too. Like those are some, striking the ball around the park and clearing boundaries by a big distance. So, struggling not to get excited by this, especially because like, I think we're seeing pretty similar trends in the women's Super Smash as well, aren't we? Where like young players excelling in some cases there, even ahead of like the overseas imports that are coming in and playing. We just joked about how many different names we could have named from one team between one of the two competitions. We do that for most of those teams. This is crazy stuff.
Yeah, we finally saw what Xavier Bell is capable of. I think that was in Hamilton, and the thing I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about these young batters is how I am confident they can hit a 6 anywhere. So like obviously a lot of right-handers can just smash it to cow corner. Xavier Bell did that. Like I've seen Bevon Jacobs do that. I've seen them both hit 6s over cover as well. I've seen them hit very straight 6s. I saw Xavier Bell hit a 6 off a short ball straight. And then I saw in Wellington, which I think was almost as good in innings, Xavier Bell was standing outside off stump and he hit a delivery on leg stump for 4. And he also hit a 6 over cover into the wind. And it's like, well, like, I don't know if we can I don't know if my mind can take any more of these dudes. Because yes, we know a lot about Xavier Bell. We've heard a lot about Xavier Bell. Now we've finally seen the potential with Xavier Bell, because he didn't score any Ford Trophy runs and he wasn't part of Northern District's Plunkett Shield team. But again, I'll go back to Lachlan Harper, who doesn't even have a proper name on Cricinfo. He is known as LLB Harper. No date of birth, just LLB Harper. And he is
Mystery man.
He's immediately had an impact on the Super Smash. Because in that same game, Xavier Bell went crazy, and Northern Districts, their hitters are taking the opposition out of the game. Brett Hampton, Cartonet Clark, Scott Kugler, and Xavier Bell batting first, scoring big runs, and then the opposition has to go crazy just to keep up with the run rate. The only dude who could, the game was decided by the time Harper batted for Canterbury, but the only dude who did anything really with the bat for Canterbury in that game was Harper, on debut. He's got 5 sixes and 2 innings strike rate of 173. He's also got a couple of wickets. It's because I obviously spend a lot of time meditating, pondering New Zealand cricket. It's like, okay, yeah, we're talking a lot about, your Marius, your Bevon Jacobs, your Curtis Heafys, and all these dudes. Jock McKenzie's not even playing. Simon Keen's not even playing, right? And the guy who's basically replaced them as the best bowler in Super Smash, Harjot Johar, is also an excellent fielder. And then you're like, okay, we're hearing noises about some other cricketers. And then you got someone like Lou Johnson, who's been on the scene for a while. We saw Zach Cumming with some leg spin make his debut for Otago. You're seeing some of these guys you know a little bit about step into domestic cricket. You're seeing much hyped players find their footing at the domestic level. We've got youngsters who have been tracking for a long time in the domestic scene, let alone the youngsters who have been tracking for a long time in the domestic scene who are now just blackcaps. Like Zach Fox is just the blackcap. But my mind can't handle the random people coming out of nowhere and doing the job. I was struggling to comprehend how Michael Ray was doing the job for the Blackcaps. He hasn't come out of nowhere, but in the Blackcaps context, he came out of nowhere. And he was doing the job for the Blackcaps. So you got that type of player at a higher level, but then you got other players like Lachlan Harper was just playing club cricket before this. People were bowling to Lachlan Harper and he was probably just smashing them for 6 because that's all he's doing in the Super Smash right now. And it's like, I just can't handle it. I have to touch grass just to balance myself out from this craziness that we're seeing. And then obviously on the women's circuit, we've just seen 17-year-old Ayan Lambert take 2 wickets in her first over. Or first 2 overs of Super Smash bowling, having dominated the under-19 tournament as a batter. Can I just, while I'm in a groove, I'll just continue the momentum into the women's Super Smash because we've got 3 W's. Natasha Wakeland and Eve Woland. They're the only Northern Districts batters who have 50-plus scores in the Super Smash. I think Wakeland is 20 years old and Woland is 19 years old. Only Northern batters with a 50-plus score are the 2 youngest batters. Also been very impressed with PJ Watkins. Only 2 batters for Otago have a 50-plus score. One is Laura Harris, an Aussie. The other is PJ Watkins, who came to New Zealand from England as a lefty seamer, now bowls lefty spin, but is also doing a job as a batter. So those are 3 W's who are doing the job with the bat. And then let's go to, and that doesn't include like your Izzy Sharps, your Flora Devonshires, who we've talked a lot about as far as run scoring goes. Dominant Jess Kerr as well, who is one of the best bowlers in Super Smash with 9 wickets. Zara Jetley's the leading wicket taker though, 12 wickets. Zara Jetley and Jess Kerr are tied for 14 wickets in the HBJ Shield. And these are all the bowlers who have taken at least 7 wickets. Zara Jetley, Jess Kerr, Marama Downs, Lucy Belcher, Emma Black, Molly Penfold, Nicole Baird, Louisa Cottcamp, Josie Penfold. Pretty funky group of leading wicket takers there in the Women's Super Smash. Let alone Watkins, who is averaging 23. We've got Missy Banks, Kaylee Knight, who looks to be one of the fastest female bowlers in Aotearoa right now. Part of a Northern District seam attack, which is Lucy Belcher, Marama Downs, and Kaylee Knight. Awesome. Is that as good as Auckland? Molly Penfold, Bree Illing, Amy Haka, Josie Penfold, and now also Ayan Lambat, who, based on what I saw from her bowling, bowls pretty quick. And shout out to Izzy Gaze, because I've talked a bit of shit about Izzy Gaze, the wicketkeeper. But I was watching that over with Lambat closely. Lambat's bowling fast. Izzy Gaze is standing up. And Lambat, she's bowling fast, she's bowling accurately outside off stump. Batters are swinging at it. And Gaze is just eating it up. Every ball's going straight to Izzy Gaze's gloves. And having talked about Izzy Gaze, how every ball bounces out of Izzy Gaze's gloves, the fact that I saw the ball sticking to her gloves was very impressive, and Izzy Gaze has scored a few runs as well. But if Izzy Gaze is under pressure, we got Polly Ingalls, we got Kate Gage, and we got Holly Top, all doing great stuff in the Super Smash as wicket keepers go. So I was talking about the Auckland seam attack, now boosted by 17-year-old Ayan Lambat. We're talking about the Northern seam attack. Also love Louisa Cottcamp for Otago, who have Emma Black, who's just consistently awesome at cricket, as well as T20 bowling. Louisa Cottcamp, she's bowling quick. She hits the deck. Like, we've got a lot of these seamers now who are bowling a bit faster. They're hitting the deck. They're bowling the short balls. They got the change-ups. They got the hot Yorkers. And then Otago, you got the spin trio. We got the seam trios, we got the seam bowlers, we got the spin trio for Otago, Anna Browning, PJ Watkins, and Chloe Dearness. I keep saying it, Chloe Dearness is Eden Carson, but healthy and available and a bit younger. Awesome fielder, good off spinner, just a really good cricketer for Otago. Loving it. Just loving the talent on display around Aotearoa. While we're here, leading wicket taker women's Super Smash is Zara Jetley before the CD versus ND game day in Napier on Tuesday the 13th. Amelia Kerr's leading run scorer, but she'll soon be overtaken because she's off on a T20 job. Izzy Sharp is the leading run scorer aside from Amelia Kerr. And then we've talked about it, men's Super Smash, Bevon Jacobs is the leading run scorer, only batter with 300 runs. And Harjot Johal is first, 4 wickets, the only bowler with more than 8 wickets in the men's Super Smash. I think let's get a bit of mindfulness, and then we'll quickly touch on the Blackcaps in India.
Rightio. Well, for how am I going to frame this? For jam band aficionados and psychedelic music fans like myself, terrible week with the passing of my boy Bobby Ware. And as a rule, I don't pick like song lyrics to do the mindfulness things because I think it's just a little bit too easy, and it's also taken them a bit too far out of context because they were written to be sung and etc. etc. So I'm not going to grab one from the very long, vast, eminently quotable repertoire of the Grateful Dead. What I am going to grab instead is a line from the bass player Phil Lesh, not even from Bobby, but from one of Bobby's bros, from Phil Lesh, who said when talking about improvising and just general creativity, I guess, but in his sense, it's about like live performance, making up music off the sheets as you go along. He said, never, ever, ever, never play the same thing once, let alone twice. Don't even get to thinking about whether you're going to play the same thing twice. Don't even play the same thing once. Stay unpredictable, you know. Don't do what everyone expects you to do. Don't be the kind of like yeah, eight, 1, 2, 3, 4 doesn't have to go to 5 straight afterwards. If you're making this thing up, if you're the creative and control, like you're actually in control, you can go where you can take that thing wherever you want to. There are no boundaries. Don't ever play the same thing once.
I do feel like I need to do some acid to really understand that, but
Probably.
I will say that's epitomized by us. I can only talk about myself because I do whatever the fuck I want as far as writing and talking about New Zealand sport. So it's right there. I might do the same thing twice though, because I do whatever the fuck I want.
As long as you're doing it because you want to do it, you know, not just doing it because it's the convention. That's the thing. That's the freedom is freedom, right? It doesn't mean you have to do the opposite every time. It just means you can choose to do take it whichever way you want.
Which is quite clearly on display with how I talk about the New Zealand cricket teams, because Northern Districts are Northern Districts, right? Central Districts are Central Districts.
Southern districts are Southern districts.
Yeah, but I call Southern, I to this point actually haven't, because I completely forgot, because it's kind of crazy to just change your name. But I do Southern Districts are Southern Districts, not Otago, out of respect for Southland. And that's the important thing. So I'm gonna like, I don't really want to call Otago, is my point. Because you're not Otago. You're also the southern districts around Otago. As we said last week.
It'd be like calling Northern Districts Waikato, which they're not. They have the Northland section as well, and etc. Let alone the Bay of Plenty section, blah blah blah.
But when you're not floating face down in the mainstream, I can call Mount Smart Stadium Mount Smart Stadium. And it's all right. It's okay. You can do whatever the fuck you want, really. And the Blackcaps are in India. Not too stressed about the results here, because it's a good ODI series to get guys playing cricket for Aotearoa, a bit of a development exercise. And obviously, anytime you get to see Aotearoa play cricket, we're happy to be here and happy to learn. In the history of Blackcaps cricket, we're gearing up for a T20 World Cup, so there are some priorities on offer, all of which is to say, not too stressed about results, more stressed about who does what, and learning about some of the Blackcaps ideas that we talk a lot about. Scored 300 runs batting first. I think that's a good benchmark when you're batting in India. And I am curious if we can bowl out India. Only took 6 wickets in the first ODI, so that's just another benchmark I'll be looking out for. Best performers in the first ODI, Conway, Nichols, and Mitchell, all past 50. Mitchell scored his 84 run strike rate of 118. Conway 83, Nichols 89.8, so 90 strike rates. All pretty solid. Christian Clark, he took a wicket, but he also scored 24 not out with a strike rate of 141, which is actually aligned with the Christian Clark in domestic cricket this season. He was solid with the ball, but he was really good with the bat. And the funky thing about the team that the Blackcaps had for that first ODI, Jamison's batting 10. Ashok, all Ashok did in Ford Trophy was smash boundaries. And his bat, he is a really good batter for Auckland. He's batting 11. And these are the skills that we're seeing for all Kiwi cricketers, because I've talked about the all-rounders a long time, right? Like, we've got so many all-rounders. You need to be a multi-skilled cricketer to really shine in Aotearoa. And by that, it's either multi-skilled as far as multi-format, or like if you suck at fielding, you're not getting selected straight up. Let alone if you can bowl, if you can bat. And we talked about in the Test series how many runs the bowlers scored compared to the West Indies. Well, we got Ashok batting 11, Jamieson batting 10, Christian Clark batting 9, Zach Fox batting 8, Bracewell batting 7. It's a lot of batting in that team without really losing too much with the ball, so that's good. But we need to digest some bigger trends and how Blackcaps ODI cricket is tracking with regards to players in form, out of form, where we are. It's averaging 18.4 since the start of 2025. If we're thinking about like who drops out of the Blackcaps to make space for the youngsters, Will Young, you're in the danger zone, bro. You got to score some runs. We all love Will Young, but he's not scoring runs. You need to score some runs. Mitch Hay, he's had 4 innings in this period, averaging 42, strike rate of 124. That's pretty good for your next up wicketkeeper. I did see like the Crick Info probable team list before the game. They had Devon Conway wicketkeeping in an ODI. That's not happening. Not when you have Mitch Hay, who's a really good batter and far better wicketkeeper than Devon Conway when we're not playing T20 cricket. Don't know if anyone's really tracking this closely, but Mitch Hay already has an ODI 50, already got a Test 50. So again, if with like the weird thing is, a lot of these youngsters have already played for the Blackcaps, right? And in the case of Mitch Hay, like these kind of youngsters have already done heaps of stuff for the Blackcaps, but people just seem to forget that or overlook it. And that includes Zach Fox. He's averaging 21.4 with the ball in this period, but I don't think he took a wicket against India. Kyle Jamieson averaging 24.3 with the ball in 8 ODIs since the start of 2025. That's really impressive for Kyle Jamieson, given how, like, there was a clip the Blackcaps made, and it was something like Jamieson was bowling. He said, yeah, put that in a clip. Again, it seems to be a theme with Kiwi cricket. The thing that was overlooked in that clip, a 30-second clip, Kyle Jamieson, first ball outswinger, second ball inswinger. And it's the thing with Jamieson. He's tall, sure. He gets good bounce, sure. All we have seen Jamieson do throughout his career is move the ball kilometers both ways. That's what he does. There's not a lot of other bowlers around the world who swing the ball immensely both ways, and Jamison's doing it from his freaky height. That's why he has an excellent record for Aotearoa. But that ODI average is 30.4 right now. That's improved to 24 in the last year around his injuries. So those are the main themes and trends that stand out. Obviously, Henry Nicholls dominating with an average of 31.5 in this period. Conway averaging 47. Mitchell's averaging 56.3. Crazy. Thing is, Henry's not playing, Santner's not playing, Duffy's not playing. They're the 3 leading wicket takers in ODIs for New Zealand. And of course, Rachin Ravindra is in Aotearoa playing Super Smash. Mark Chapman also he's playing Super Smash, averaging 74 with a strike rate of 107 in his 6 innings of ODIs since the start of 2025.
Yeah, Daryl Mitchell's past 50 in like not quite 5 games in a row, like Bevon Jacob and Super Smash, but I think in like 5 of his last 6 ODI innings or something like that. And he was like influential in a couple of run chases against England earlier on in the summer. Like he's just been in superb one-day international batting form, and he did it in India. He was doing it in New Zealand. You know, this is Daryl Mitchell for you.
Wait, this is Daryl Mitchell averaging 53.8 in ODI batting.
For his career, yes. Like it's not even what he's doing at the moment isn't even that far above what he's been doing just in general. Insanely good in this format. But yeah, what you're saying about like, because Mitchell, experienced batter, scored some runs. Conway and Nichols, experienced batters. Nichols not as prominent in the Blackcaps these days, but was in very good for trophy form prior to this. Well, just good form in general. He scored 100 in his last Test innings, I'm pretty sure. So he's he's he was primed to be able to come in and do well from the start. There were senior batters who didn't score runs, but there are guys like Will Young, who you mentioned, been out of form in all the formats recently. Glenn Phillips, arguably, like where's Glenn Phillips on the list? Because he was injured for a long time, which is part of it. But
He's averaging 60.8 with the bat, strike rate of 112.
right, so he was brilliant before the injury. I don't know.
The one thing with Glenn Phillips, though, ODI bowling, he's averaging 74, 6.3 RPO. And in the ODI against India, he bowled 4 overs at 5.2, which was all right. But I think his worst bowling format is probably ODIs. Internationally, let's check that. 47.3 in ODI bowling. He's bowled in 30 innings, so yeah, he bowls a lot. How about this? Glenn Phillips has bowled in 50 plus innings across first class, list A, and T20 bowling. But everyone thinks he's a wicketkeeper, you know, like that's a bit weird. But ODI bowling is Glenn Phillips's weakest format, and he has a fantastic ODI batting record of a 38.7 average, strike rate of 101.
Yeah, and did fail in the first innings, the first match of this tour, but also like because I watched our batting innings. I thought he looked good until he just suddenly got out, which is I don't know. I just feel like I've had that experience with Glenn Phillips a few times with the Blackcaps since he's come back from injury, which probably just means, especially from what you're saying there about like the record that he had before that, probably just means he's due next innings. But anyway, for the fact he didn't like sort of kick on, maybe a little bit of rust to shake off, but the expected guys scored runs and carried that innings, and then Christian Clark did have a really nice little cameo at the end there. He smoked at least one, it might have been two, like cover drives in there, which were just beautiful stuff. But yes, the issue with the squad is the fact that the equivalent guys in the bowling lineup aren't there, except for Kyle Jamieson, who is not only been really good since he's come back into the Blackcaps, but also like loves playing against India. I'm not sure what the record is, but I feel I might even have to look this up because I feel like he's gotten Virat Kohli out several times already in his career, which is lovely stuff because someone's got to do it. Someone's got to get Kohli out, or else you're not going to have a chance against India, particularly in ODIs where he's like maybe the greatest ODI batter ever. Like his record is insane, and he did sort of anchor India towards a run chase here. But can they over the next two games? Does the squad have it in them to take a few more wickets, to take some earlier wickets up front, guys other than Jamieson taking wickets to and then to ultimately, like you said, to bowl them out in one or two of these remaining matches. I think that's the test. But because of the stature of the squad, no one's going to care if we do get swept. We saw from this one that was a nice competitive, sort of certainly very competitive batting innings. Some good performers within, and overall maybe slightly disappointing, well, at least unsuccessful bowling innings. It is India pretty much playing like full strength and treating it. I thought that was a surprise from how, because we'd only talked about this from a New Zealand perspective. We'd seen the squad, we'd seen that guys who have been playing Test cricket over the summer were rested, especially guys who were also going to be going over for the T20 World Cup. It's like, stay home, catch your breath a little bit, and then reassess and go, full steam ahead in a week or so. But then actually seeing like the coverage from India, they seem to be taking this quite seriously. They seem to be treating this as a very important series, which is not, I don't think, how the Blackcaps see it. But the T20 series will be certainly ramping it up a little bit more with the T20 World Cup to follow. But yeah, results not important, but performances within results will be interesting to see.
Two all-time New Zealand ODI nuggets here. There is only one batter, and his name is the Dazzler, Daryl Mitchell, who has scored over 1,000 ODI runs, averaging over 50. He is the only batter from New Zealand ever to do that, and he's better than Kane Williamson. Not only does he have a higher average, 53.82 compared to 48.69, he's got a higher strike rate, 94.3 compared to 81.5. Kane Williamson, 6 ducks. Daryl Mitchell, no ducks. The ducks I don't really care about because Williamson's batted 3 times as many innings, but the efficiency, the average, and the strike rate, Daryl Mitchell is the best ODI batter ever from New Zealand right now, and there's a considerable room for him to solidify that even further. Another thing people might not be aware of, Jacob Duffy, lower ODI bowling average than Trent Boult. And Matt Henry's not far away. Duffy averages 24.25, Boult averages 24.38, Matt Henry averages 24.98. Righto, let's get into some football. And
Bob Jamison's gotten Virat Kohli out 4 times, by the way. 3 in test matches and 1 in ODIs. So I think I had an inkling there.
Don't really want to go too much longer, but does Virat Kohli suck against New Zealand? That was a test batting thing, right?
Yeah, I don't think his ODI record is bad at all. Let me just
56.
It won't let me click it. Yeah, I'll check. Oh, you got it.
56.4 versus New Zealand in ODI batting. Test batting, though, he averages 38.3 against New Zealand. He averages, like, this is the weird stuff about the cricket cartel, because it's the same story for Jasprit Bumrah. Like, the Aussies always talk about Jasprit Bumrah. England always talk about Jasprit Bumrah. Jasprit Bumrah kind of sucks against New Zealand. Virat Kohli sucks against New Zealand. He averages 38.3, obviously that's pretty good, but he averages over 40 against every other nation in test batting. 43.7 versus Australia, let alone all the others. His worst opposition, or the opposition he sucks against, is New Zealand. Jasprit Bumrah, test bowling. He averages 45.4 against New Zealand. He averages below 25 against every other nation he's played. So again, said it before, I've just been reminded, was never scared about Bumrah. Was never really scared about Kohli because they sucked against New Zealand. But we have some cool A-League stuff where Auckland FC, top of the ladder, they had a win. Wellington Phoenix, they had a draw, good comeback draw. They're 10th. Still close to the bottom of the ladder, still struggling to get into the finals mixer. The Wellington Phoenix women, I think they had a loss against Melbourne City, and they are 7th on the ladder. The thing I was thinking about the most was obviously Sam Cosgrove.
Good game from him on Friday.
Yes. The weird thing is,
I don't count the goal as part of his good game, though.
But his non-goals were good, right? Because what Sam Cosgrove did for those non-goal highlights as a striker, perfectly hit header. There was a couple centimeters over the crossbar.
Yeah, like we're seeing 30 times this season.
He fired a shot from outside the box. Fantastic shot. First time I've seen Sam Cosgrove hit a shot from outside the box. Again, few centimeters over the crossbar. Sam Cosgrove, middle of the penalty box. And this is my favorite football goal that I like to do when I'm out on the streets. You're in the middle of the penalty box and you just little flick behind you. It's not a back heel, but it's like the side foot into the far bottom corner. Sam Cosgrove missed that by a couple centimeters. His best moments, he missed the goal by a few centimeters, and he scores a goal because he couldn't head the ball hit his chest, and he just kind of chased the ball into the goal. Maybe he slapped it into the goal with his hand. It was a weird situation where the goal he scored was just like pretty goofy, and the goals he didn't score were awesome. And that's like, in a roundabout way, that is Sam Cosgrove. Like, I don't know how he didn't score from those three awesome moments that were all different. Header, long shot, razzle dazzle. He missed all of them by a few centimeters. He was in the right position to do what he wanted to do in all of them. He missed the goal. The goal he scores is just like some goofy Sam Cosgrove shit. It's just like pure Sam Cosgrove. But shout out to him because he's doing the job and he provides me with a lot of footballing entertainment.
As long as Lachlan Brook's playing in and around him, because again, like I don't see those two linking up, but I do see Lachlan Brook, because there was a stat during during that game where they're talking about how Auckland FC are building up so much more down the right side than they are down the left. I'm like, yeah, well, you got Lachlan Brook playing as the center attacking midfielder. So he's naturally, because of the way he plays and his position previously being as like a right winger who drifts in, obviously he wants to get into those like right side channels. So you see him going over and standing, like just going to collect the ball from spots where normally you'd expect Logan Rogerson to get them as the right winger. So when he's playing through the middle, you've kind of got two guys there on the side, let alone Hiroki Sakai bombing past each of them. And Sakai did get an assist in this game as well. Fantastic. He's looked so good since he's come back from injury. He looked so good before that, so that probably shouldn't be a surprise. He has looked a little angrier since he came back from injury, though. He's blown up, as it's got mentioned in the commentary as well. He's blown up at the refs a few times, which he didn't go as far as Tim Payne, though, who 2-foot slide tackled the linesman during the Phoenix game, which was very funny, accidentally, but still very funny.
Respect to the liners, I respect all referees.
In the way.
The games we need referees, we need linos, we need umpires, we need all of you, we need the scorers, we need the managers, we need everyone involved in Aotearoa sport, because that's what makes Aotearoa the best sporting nation in the world. Weird lino antics that I've seen in my life, and now the modern development of linos not calling offsides until like just wasting everyone's time for the player to get the ball and do something even though he was offside 10 seconds ago. Can't really begrudge Tim Payne for going 2 feet studs up against the lino. Like, fair play, because that offside lino stuff is just all a bit weird these days.
Well, especially in the A-League, where you just arguably, it's been said for a long time, but arguably, the refereeing standard is not as high in that league as it ought to be. I don't think it's a very easy league to referee, though. So, in fairness,
I've got no issues with the refereeing. This is very lino specific, because linos aren't referees. They are referees, but they're not linos. But let's keep moving. Sorry for the.
Anyway, I won't. We won't go on the tangent. Lachlan Brook is, as when he plays through the middle, he is going to drift wide, and you're going to have overloads on that side, and you're going to have an attack that is pretty loaded down the right wing. And when that happens, he's dragging defenders, he's like moving attention away, and Cosgrove is able to go 1v1 with defenders a lot more, and he's going to win his 1v1 battles more often than not. He's not necessarily going to win the ball from those battles, but he's going to win the physical battle with the defender. And when he's in those types of situations, like Brisbane just didn't seem to know what to do with him. I think he won 6 out of his 7 headers. I don't know how many of those were completed headers, like flicking on, then a completed pass to a teammate, but he was winning all the headers. And that alone, it's similar to the disruption thing we've been talking about. And I had a note actually about the Wellington Phoenix women and the newsletter about this, where it's like, CJ Bott is committing 3 fouls per game for the Wellington Phoenix. She's actually not winning a lot of tackles this year because she's in a much more, she's used to playing down these sort of slim channels, right back, one-on-one with a winger. you're in a position to make a lot of tackles. In midfield, she's got so much more ground to cover. She's just not able to get as close as often. So what she's doing instead is she's just fouling and committing 3 fouls per game per 90 minutes. There's only one player in the entire league who averages more fouls per 90 minutes than that. That's Isabel Gomez, who used to play for the Wellington Phoenix. She, in the first couple of seasons, she was an Australian import for the Phoenix. One of the star players for Central Coast last year as they won the championship. Here is someone who commits a lot of fouls. CJ Bottas coming in, being a really good player for the Wellington Phoenix straight off the bat, as you'd expect for someone of her pedigree, but committing a lot of fouls. Auckland FC last year in the Men's A-League committed the most fouls in the competition. They actually dropped a little bit on that stat this year, but not by a whole lot. It might just be a case of like Frustrada's been so good, he doesn't have to foul, he's just winning the tackles. Could also be a little bit of like Brimmer playing there a bit more, a little less combative than Gallegos in some of those ones, even though Brimmer has been injured for the last month or so. But just, the team's committing a lot of fouls sounds like a negative stat. It's kind of not, because it's very hard to play against a team like that, because it's telling you that the game is just getting busted up. You can't get free-flowing stuff against you. And Cosgrove's aerial duels, I'm starting to think, have a similar kind of effect, where it's like, even if he is committing fouls, even if he is like, it's so hard to play against that as a defender. And it's then becomes a case of like, for Auckland FC, cool, we have this thing that can be a big advantage. How do we capitalize on that? Which, like, through the season so far, as like regular listeners will know, because we have made this a bit of a punchline, sometimes that does not work at all. Cosgrove actually isn't that good at doing a lot with those headers. The amount of times he gets like jumps up at the back post on the end of a brilliant cross from De Vries or Sakai or whoever, and then doesn't do enough with that header, or doesn't even win the header because he's too busy fighting with the guy on the ground. Yeah, those have been immensely frustrating to watch for me, just trying to get a handle on this team. But when you get the combination right, it's obvious how that can be really successful for them. And we saw that on the weekend, and we've seen that every time where Sam Cosgrove has played as the striker and Lachlan Brooke has played as the attacking midfielder behind him or a second striker alongside him. There was this was going back to that, because there were 2 games before that where it didn't happen, because there was the game where Brooke moved back to the wing and Guillermo Mai started. That was against Newcastle. They lost 3-1. The following game, Sam Cosgrove was dropped. Came off the bench for like 20 minutes, and Randall and Brooke started together up front. So Brooke was a little bit higher, but still kind of playing the same role. Just it looks different when you have a guy like Randall with you who is going to run in behind rather than like, turn his back on the last man and look to flick ons and stuff. The 4 games, starting with the most recent derby at Mount Smart, where they won that against the 10-man Wellington Phoenix team, starting with that game through to what is now, it's been 6 games since then. So 2 games where they didn't do it, 4 games where they did have those 2 as their like furthest attackers forward. They've won all 4. It's win when you've had the Brooke and Cosgrove strike pairing combinations. So I think that's the formula. I thought that was the formula from the moment they did it for the first time in that derby. I'm like, sweet, that's the thing that works. I love that so much. And even though like we've ripped on Cosgrove when he's played badly, and he has had some shocking games, he's also had some pretty good and effective games. Lachlan Brooke has had some spectacular performances lately. He's also had a lot of games, especially at the start of the season before he moved into the middle, where he was very quiet and didn't really do a whole lot. The same thing applies to both of them. It's like when they're in this duo, they've both been really good, and the team has been immensely successful. And Brooke in particular has looked like one of the best players in the A-League. When it's split up, it doesn't seem to work. So there's something that they've figured out there. And hopefully now that they've gone back to it with that win against Brisbane, they actually have properly figured it out. And it's like, yeah, no, this is like, sorry, Guillermo Mai, you are an import player. You were really good last season, but there are 2 players whose that Cosgrove doesn't even have to play better than Mai. Although I'd be interested to know what it looks like with Mai up front, but I don't know that they'd do that. I think they'd probably sooner play Randall there and Mai and behind him, as they did that other time. We shall see. Like, there might be other combinations they can find that work, but at the moment they have one that they know works. It's not speculative. It's not hypothetical. It's like there's a duo there that they know is winning them games whenever they pick those guys there. And you just got to roll with that, right? You found the winning combination. You don't have to change that and search for something maybe better. Like what you got is because what you've got is good enough there.
My, I don't really know what he does anymore, and
Cosgrove or Brook?
it's like, to me, he's my, well, I think Sam Cosgrove is my version of my version, but to me, my is a bit like how you view Nazarene,
Hmm.
or maybe
Although I thought Nadjarine was really good on the weekend.
yeah, like I look at Mai and I think you're not fast. You got to,
Hmm.
obviously you got some skill. You're not a physical presence. You don't make the same runs as a Rogerson. You don't have the same X factor as Brook. I just don't. Mai was awesome in it last season. I don't know what Mai's doing this season, but some people might look at him and think like he is the guy because he was the guy last year.
Hmm.
A few other things like having Sakai back. Now Auckland FC have Franny de Vries not only with the crosses but the straight ball, which is both. Well, I think back to one of the derbies, and it was Franny de Vries going long over the high line down that left-hand channel for both goals in Phoenix. I think that was the one in Wellington. But now you've got Sakai.
Yeah, to Jesse Randall. Yeah.
Now you've got Sakai doing the same thing on the right because his passing is just as good. So you've got Sakai and de Vries who are excellent crosses, but they also are excellent passes down the sideline, which is amazing when you've got, your Rogersons, your Cosgroves, your Lockie Brook, and obviously Randall on the left, working into those spaces. And we'll talk about the Phoenix in a jiffy, but I don't think the Phoenix have that at all. I'll talk about that why, but I just want to finish on Auckland FC because, again, some people would think Jesse Randall is a striker. He's a winger. Jesse Randall is a midfielder. But the thing about Jesse Randall, he's a midfielder who gets into winger positions, into striker positions. But the thing I've been noticing about Jesse Randall this season is where he is in defensive shape. He is always left midfielder in the defensive shape, which only makes it more crazy what Jesse Randall is doing. Because he is one of the most potent, dynamic, attacking threats in the A-League as a midfielder. So that means he's doing all the defensive work in a midfield shape, but he's also one of the most potent threats going forward. Again, my mind's blowing with what a young Kiwi athlete is doing.
And I think he started every single game this season. Let me check my... Yeah, he has. He started every single game, whether that has been in that left midfield role, once or twice as the striker. It alternated a little bit, but yeah, it's the same stuff as Rogerson was doing well last season, but arguably even a little bit more potent because he's more involved in the build-up stuff. Although I will just say on Rogerson, 5 starts this season, 4 wins and a draw from those 5 games. So even though he's been arguably quiet within that, they're good when he's there.
Now that we've talked about Randall and Rogerson, the visions in my mind are a lot clearer because they sitting a little bit deeper to start with, or being in a midfield position without the ball means that there is space in those areas ahead of them. So Francis de Vries and Sakai, excellent passes, they're getting the balls into that space. So Randall's bursting forward on the left, Rogerson's bursting forward on the right, and that leaves Cosgrove and Brook working together in the midfield. But it's slightly different to how some other teams might play, where you've got you got 3 strikers, or you got like a faster striker up top who gets into the wide channels. Like Eze, he's trying to get out wide because like they're putting the ball every which way, and Eze's chasing it down, and he'll do his thing from there. Whereas quite clear for Auckland FC, Randall and Rogerson, usually when they get the ball moving forward, it's out on the sideline and they are either getting into a one-on-one position or they are chasing in behind. Aside from Eze, then you go Wellington Phoenix, and the only kind of threat you see out wide, and it was like a very good weekend. Oh, not very good. It was a solid weekend for Wellington Phoenix because they fought back, men and women. So they showed some mana, they showed some grit. So I think that was pretty positive. I was losing the plot in the first half watching the Wellington Phoenix pass backwards from the edge of the attacking box all the way back to their goalkeeper. Like that was driving me a bit crazy, as well as trying to find the hardest pass to pass. It's like the hardest button to button. The Wellington Phoenix men, they choose some very difficult passes to make. And when I'm watching it, I'm screaming at it like, just make the easy pass. I think they're a team, and it's obviously not Chiefy's style because he's trying to work these intricate patterns and all that stuff. That's right. When I'm watching, I'm like, just either get the ball under control and make an easy pass, or just make an easy pass. But what they usually do is they'll try and make a hard pass without having control of the ball, or they will choose the most difficult pass to make. Okay, whatever. That's how you want to play football. That's all right. But because I think that first half, and that's probably how this was involved in their comeback, having Sheridan on the left, you're getting nothing. You're getting no crosses. You're getting no long passes. You're getting no impetus moving forward, which is something you've talked a lot about. I think that position is Lucas Kelly-Heald, because at least he's got a left foot so he can whip the ball down the line, and because he was playing on the left wing back position.
Well, they changed it actually for this game and basically had four across the back. So it was this, first time we've really seen that from them this season. But which
No, wasn't it? It was Kelly-Heald, Sheridan, Mandrake, Hughes, and then Payne. To start.
I'll have to check the thing to be sure. They had the numbers to play a back three, but they kind of set up. I think it might have been. Who was the further forward on the left? Was it Kelly-Heald?
Yeah, he was the wide one. It was like,
and then, he was So basically, the way they were setting up, playing flatter and across the back line, effectively put Kelly-Heald not just in a wing back position, but almost like in the left midfield position we're talking about with Jesse Randall. Yeah. But Kelly-Heald's not fast. He doesn't make runs in behind. He doesn't overlap. And there were times where it's like, it actually got worse when Sheridan was doing that in the afterwards, because he wouldn't cross it on his left foot. He did once or twice and it shanked it. So you could see why he didn't have the confidence to do that. But there were times where I felt like, Najarine or whoever was drifting over into those spots. And this is where we get into what you were talking about like you get to the edge of the box and then you turn down the opportunity thinking maybe we can work something better, but you don't try to work something better. You just pass it backwards and you end up going back and you've lost all the momentum that you've gained. There were times where it was like Najarine just didn't even want to pass to Sheridan because he's like, this isn't going to do anything, which was, frustrating.
Yeah.
But then on the opposite side, Tim Payne coming back in gave them everything that they were lacking on the left side. They had on the right side from Tim Payne, who was very influential in their comeback, set up one of the goals, I think won the corner for the other one. And basically, once he went off, having hit, I think they gave them a 60-minute limit of saying, like, you're back from fitness, you haven't played for a while. You're back to fitness, haven't played for a while. We're not going to give you 90 minutes here. We're not going to stress you out. We'll cap you at like 60 odd minutes, which is what Wrexham did with thenichecache as he came back and scored against Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup over the weekend, which was beautiful to see. But then they stretched him out a little bit longer because they kind of were making that comeback and like, could they find a third goal? So Payne ended up playing 67, 68 minutes, something like that. And then once he went off, foot came off the accelerator and they just didn't have the same attack and juice. I think Eze got subbed off with the sounded like Chiefy was getting a little bit annoyed at his work rate, which is a crazy thing to say because his work rate is absolutely insane. But I think that was the point, is that even Eze had hit the wall by that point. Like, they were just a little bit tired. They didn't quite have enough. So go and find a winning goal. But they were close. They hit the frame of the goal a couple of times. And I did think, once again, Luke Brooks-Smith just gives them something else. And when he's been on the pitch for about roughly 20%, something like that, maybe 25% of the minutes this season. When he's out there, they score 2.2 goals per 90 minutes. When he's not on the pitch, they score 1.4 goals per 90 minutes. Like, there is a notable bump when he's out there, whether he's scoring or assisting those goals, which usually he isn't. He's got 1 assist this season. It was last week against Brisbane with this, the run away and then the set up for Rattray, who also Rattray coming on for Tim Payne and playing in that right wing back spot. Thought that was interesting. I don't know if we've really seen that a lot from Rattray before. And I thought he did a good job, but without the bursting forward stuff that Payne does.
Like the Brooks Smith stuff, hold that thought. But these are the key differences between Auckland FC, who are top of the table, and Wellington Phoenix, who I like what they're doing, but they're trying to get into the finals mix, right? So we talked about the left, and it's crazy that Kelly Hield is playing any other position than left centre back to me. He's tall. He's not very fast. He's basically a taller Nando Pijnenburg, and Nando Pijnenburg, I think, started again for Auckland FC, which is probably why they won. Who cares about Lachlan Brook or Sam Cosgrove? But Kelly Hield, yes, he could play left back. Just left centre back. Just leave him there. Let him play there. That's his position. I think that's his best position. Definitely should be not moving forward out of the defensive line. Because if you got Sheridan and Kelly Hield, it's just a bit weird on the left. But so what I was talking about Auckland FC, 2 very potent wide attacking zones, and now Cosgrove and Brook, you can cross it, you can play long. Wellington Phoenix have none of that. They don't have the crossing, and they don't have the long passing down the sidelines. Tim Payne is better than a lot of the other players at that, but if Tim Payne is your right back...
Well, I think Tim Payne would, if he was playing for Auckland FC, he would be doing the same things as De Vries is doing, and Sakai's. I think he would fit.
Hold on. The guy ahead of Tim Payne is Corbin Piper. Corbin Piper is a limited footballer.
Absolutely, he is.
Corbin Piper is one of my favourite Phoenix players. We saw him play the impact role off the bench. He is a limited attacking zone player. I don't know what his position he was playing is, but he is playing as an attacker. He's starting games as a attacking midfielder, second striker. Yeah. So yes, Tim Payne's doing the same stuff. He would be doing the same stuff for Auckland FC. But he'd be passing the ball to Logan Rogerson, making runs down the sideline, who can get the ball, dribble one-on-one, get to the baseline, cross it in, make the right decisions. Corbin Piper, no fault of his own, because he tries hard, he's full of mana, full of grit. That's not his best position. He can't dribble past people. He can't sprint past anyone because he's not a winger. So yes, it was good to have Tim Payne back, and he provides that skill set, which I don't even think the Wellington Phoenix really want. They play a completely different style to Auckland FC, and that's all right. But now, so compared to Auckland FC, where you have both sides firing, and to be honest, everything's kind of firing, so it's unfair, but you have a very clear, we can move up the left, we can move up the right. The Wellington Phoenix, it's iffy on both sides, because they're not picking their best left-sided players if Sheridan's there. And I find it kind of crazy that Corbin Piper's starting as an attacking player, given how well we've seen him perform other roles. It's like, yes, you get Tim Payne back, but who's he passing to?
Corbin Piper, he set up a
That's
goal for Corbin Piper in this game.
yeah, yeah, but like it's like okay, yes, because Corbin Piper, he's a big body, he's in the box, he can win a header. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. That's the thing about him being limited, right? It's like
Yeah,
that's one of the things he does really well. The things he does really well is why he's in the team. But we also saw him in this game have a runaway and he kicked the ball so far ahead of him that the defender just stepped in front and took it away rather than being through on goal. And we've also seen him miss one-on-ones from similar positions. Like he's just not, that's not a position he's ever really played. He was a ball-winning midfielder for Birkenhead United. Moved a bit further forward because he was too good to be sitting just in the other team's half. Um, but when he went and played professionally in Ireland, he was a defensive midfielder. For the Phoenix, they signed him and said, "This guy's going to be our centre back. We're going to, well, not our centre. He's going to be a centre back. We're going to develop him into this role, bring him even further back." And he's ended up playing pretty much everywhere except centre back for the Wellington Phoenix. So, and that's credit to him because he's just finds a way to be effective wherever he is, but he's not efficient. He's not a guy who's going to, his touch at times was shocking in that game, which is not normally the thing. I don't normally think about. He can have a heavy touch, but it's not normally that's not the weakness so much as it's like just the sort of lack of polish. But I think that was across because Nagasawa had some heavy touches in the first half. Rufa was shocking in the first half and then absolutely brilliant in the second half. So it was sort of a team-wide thing where that was the case, where they were just, for whatever reason, they were just off the ball in the first half and kept giving it away in stupid positions and in all different manner of ways from all different manner of players. And then everything got so much better in the second half. Not quite enough to win, though, but that was because of the hole they dug themselves into to start with. But yeah, your point about Auckland FC is the way I see that is like De Vries is a weapon going forward. Sakai is a weapon going forward. Rogerson is a weapon going forward. Randall's a weapon going forward. They have four guys, two on each side. Phoenix have one guy. Maybe two if Armiento's available and not suspended. If it's earlier season Armiento versus the sort of much quieter, less effective guy was sent over, the month before his red
basically,
card.
it's is Amiento your left midfielder, or is he your left wing back? Because as we know, I couldn't give two hoots about wing backs.
Well, yeah, I don't know. They've tried him in different. They've tried him in the deeper role. They've tried him further forward.
Lift like
He's had good games in each.
Yeah,
But
based on your parameters there, Armiento can be one of those dudes left midfield. That's fine. I'm happy with that. And
sure.
if you got Kelly Hield as a left back or on the left side, that's all right. That I can because he can pass to Armiento. Sheridan can't pass down the sideline.
But that's sort of what I'm leading towards is that De Vries can combine with Randall. It's not just the one. The Fannies can get to that thing where they have one good attacking threat on each side. But what are they supposed to dribble through the whole team? And like, who are they play the ball up the line? But who are they passing it to? Probably Eze running as far away from goal as he can get, just in order to get involved to get the ball. And then what? Like, what's Eze supposed to do? I mean, he has created great things out of those moments. It's not like this doesn't work, but it is also a case of that is not well, you said this, didn't you? That's not really how the Phoenix play. They're not trying to create things from that width as directly as if you keep the ball around in that half, everyone steps up, then you condense the thing, and then you can sort of make some things happen. But I think there's a lot of pressure on the midfielders, and I think when they've played better, because the midfielders got to drift wide to be that. Because who else is that wing back going to pass to? It's probably just going to have to be Nagasawa drifts in, plays a 1-2, and then gets you running in behind like that. There's got to be some trigger because you've got to be able to beat a defender some way, shape, or form. Neither Armiento nor Payne look like someone who's just going to do a step over and beat them. Brooke Smith, maybe. Certainly he's had a few of those ones. But that's also a risky game. Like I can see how teammates would get frustrated if within this Phoenix system, if Brooke Smith was just like, every time I get the ball, I'm going to drop my head, like just drop a shoulder and turn someone, throw a step over, and I'm just going to try beat the first defender every time. You're probably not going to get away with it. You're going to lose a lot of ball. And the Phoenix kind of, even though I think they've arguably been better when they don't have as much possession, they are they are trying to be a team that dominates the ball and doesn't play as transitionally as we've seen from them in the past. Um, to yeah, it's a mixed effect, but I do think it's still a thing where it's like I don't even think we've seen the best Phoenix 11. Like Nikola Miljusinic came off the bench for his Phoenix debut halfway through the season. He was one of their main signings, like an experienced Australian attacker, was supposed to be, and there's someone who dribbles as well. He was supposed to be a guy who was going to come in and help you know take this team from whatever they were last year to whatever they're trying to be this year. And we've only just seen him for the first time for 10 minutes at the end of this game. Like, they're just constant injuries at this club, which is crazy because every signing that comes in talks about how the facilities they get at the Wellington Phoenix are best in the league, world class. Because they're able to train out of that sort of the I think it's called the New Zealand Institute of Sport or whatever it is, big, like, and I've seen tours of that place, like incredible facilities that they have, Phoenix men and women, and yet both of those teams just seem to always be involved in an injury crisis. Like, I can't remember the last time that either of those teams, like, there's been 4 season-ending injuries between the both of them, ACLs, Ashige for the men's, and there's 3 of them for the women's. I'm struggling to put those two things together, this idea that they have the best training facilities and the worst injury record. I don't know why those things are so opposed to each other, but that seems to be the case. But yeah, we'll
Yeah.
maybe get to see something closer when Army Ento comes back from suspension. I assume next week, maybe the week after, and Tim Payne's starting in games more often, and Miljusinic gives them a bit more depth off the bench, or maybe as a starter, and Brooke Smith hopefully continues to get more opportunities, etc., etc., etc.
Obviously, it's the wind in Wellington that is causing mass injuries, so that's pretty obvious.
Could be. I did wonder about that on the weekend. About it was such a game of two halves. Was maybe it's just because the wind was that heavy? Because there was a Super Smash game on the same day where they couldn't use the camera on the scaffolding behind one of the side screens. They could only use the one that was like secured in the stand because it was too wobbly. So it was a crazy weather game. At least that one. Oh, and Bill Tuilama. Bill Tuilama's come back next week as well. So there's another factor. Yeah. And if you're talking about someone who can play from the back line with a long range of passing, Mandrake James is decent at it. Bill Tuilama is great at it. Like he becomes the Phoenix's best defensive passer, best passer from within their own half as soon as he gets into that team. All those passes that you see Rufer trying to hit, Bill Tuilama will actually get them.
It's not Rufer, it's Isaac Hughes. Because Isaac Hughes,
Hughes shouldn't have to be playing those passes.
No. When Isaac Hughes is bumping the ball around the back, every pass looks like he mistimed it. And when you're passing between defenders, that ball needs to be firing. You need to rip it to the other defender because you're trying to get the ball into space. Isaac Hughes, his passing, like 10 meter, 15 meter, 20 meter passes, they're slow. It looks like he's scuffed every single pass. And then Mandrake gets the ball and it's just like bang, he's fizzing it. So bro, if you just speed up your passing around the back, that'll be so much better. But the one player who has the most to offer this team is Luke Brooks-Smith. And I don't know if it's as simple as this, but Corbin Piper shouldn't be starting ahead of Luke Brooks-Smith in those positions. And he has something that most of the other players don't even have. And yes, that Aussie Miljusinic first game back, so we'll wait and see, watch a few more games of him. But he looks okay. He didn't come on and look like one of the best players on the field. Whereas Luke Brooks-Smith, you can see that he looks like one of the best players on the field, and there's always a bit of zip, there's always a bit of magic about him. But I don't know if he's going to get the right kind of opportunities because, as you were talking about, when Eze gets the ball, he's by himself. And if you're a wide attacking player for the Phoenix, you're going to get the ball, you're not going to have any mates around, and you're going to have to do something magical, and then your mates are going to come and you're going to pass it backwards. So it's just a weird situation for a player with that kind of attacking flair and skill. So I'm curious to see how he progresses with the Phoenix. But yes, he is quite clearly the attacking talent this team needs. There's a combination you can develop with T-Pain on the right side of the field. I don't know what Chiefy's fascination with like midfielders playing defense is, because Polar Retre, like, yes, yeah, again, it's the wing back. So you put your midfielder into your wing back. I hate that. That's just my weird footballing stuff. But I don't think, like, Sheridan's, as you've said, like, he doesn't seem like a solid defender. He's a worker. He's going to get the ball where it needs to go. To me, he's just a midfielder, right? Like, there's Armiento playing left wing back. There's a lot of midfielders playing defense. And I don't see
Don't
it
forget last year when Kelly Hield played some games in midfield. The reverse option. Just as
yeah, but we've seen that. That's a more common thing. Like, okay, you're playing centre back, you can play centre defensive midfielder. Like, we've seen CJ Bott going from a wide defender into the midfield. That I've seen that before, and I understand how that can work. Midfielders going to defense seems far less successful in my imaginary success ratings than...
I've seen it plenty of times, but I mean, you watch enough, you see all the different transitional positions from here to there and whatever. Ben Wayne's a left winger now, you know. Ben Old's a left back. Tim Payne is someone who went from midfield to defense.
Yeah, but that's over time.
Actually.
Those are things
that
have happened years. Paulo Retre, he's come back from injury, comes on, he's playing midfield on his return from injury, and then he's playing right wing back replacing Tim Payne. These are things that are happening
with Schwan Loke on the bench.
It's weird.
Well, I think that's a seniority sub. That's a case of like, it's okay if the formation's disjointed and players in weird positions because the game is disjointed at this point. We're chasing a win and trying to disrupt things. But he's been faced with a decision of like, do I put the actual player who specializes in this role on there, or do I put the senior player on? And he's put the senior player on out of position instead. And I think
it's a seniority move. It's not a winning move.
And well, they were worse from that moment onwards. Even though I thought Retre was nice there, but nice wasn't enough to get them a winning goal. Nice is a sort of like, if they were 3-2 up and they make that move, I'm pretty sure he does a very good job at helping them hold that. Because the thing about midfielders and why midfielders playing in different positions can be like, certainly for Chiefy, but there's many other coaches who do the same thing. Midfielders are the best at holding possession under pressure, like keeping the ball, making good decisions in those little isolated kind of like rondo moments within games. Rondos being like is what they call okay, good. Just making sure we're not getting Rajon Rondo NBA confusions. Like you put someone like that as your fullback or your wingback or whatever, your wide defender spot, it's going to help you cool the game and make good decisions and ice things from there. But they actually kind of probably needed a bit more of a roll of the dice of like, are you willing to risk losing this in order to chase the win? And they didn't. But also, I mean, at the same time, the damage was on the first half, and that second half performance, even what we saw from them, should have been a winning performance if they hadn't been so bad in the first 45. So very similar game to the women's game, actually, where pretty bad first half, conceded some soft goals, then a really good response in the second half. Just the difference with them is they left it too late to get the first goal, so they didn't have time for the second.
But you're talking about the midfielders. Sheridan, yes, that's the problem. He holds possession. He never has a crack. And if you're playing in those wide positions, that's something you talked about. But then Paulo Retre, he was nowhere near the positions T-Pain was in when we're moving forward. Paulo Retre's infield. He's playing the same role as T-Pain, but he's 15 meters infield. He's closer to the defense. I don't think he would have played in a wide right defender position much before, and he was not in wide right positions when the Phoenix had the ball. And those are
playing like a midfielder, wasn't he?
Exactly. Those are the nuances that you start to see when you're watching this team closely, because there's a lot of guys playing out of position. And it's cool to be flexible, but you start to see the nuances. Okay, we've got the ball. Corbin Piper, what's he going to do moving into space? He's going to wrestle someone.
Yeah.
Right? He's trying to do Sam Cosgrove things instead of the shake and bake Jesse Randall or Logan Rogerson, or credit to a Phoenix player, Luke Brooks-Smith's doing. These are little nuances you learn about through the positions, and yes, they can do the job, but it's kind of disrespectful to the specialists, because you're putting people in to try to do the same thing as T-Pain. But when other people are trying to do that, you realize how good T-Pain is in that position, moving up and down the right sideline. When you put
especially because Payne can also do other positions very usefully as well. Like, it's just the difference between versatility for like for like a coach's sake or whatever. Can you fit into this team? Can we make this work? Sort of thing. That kind of versatility, which we see a lot, particularly from younger players in the Phoenix, versus like true versatility, which is a player who has experience at a bunch of different positions and can actually slot in week to week in different roles, even though Payne these days is very much a sort of right defender specialist.
He's not versatile. Like, I don't view him as a utility versatile player. He is the best right back, one of the best right backs in the league. He's going to be playing for the All Whites at right back. Yes, we've got the history. He can play at different roles. He's experienced in different roles. Right now, he is a right back. He's the best right back in the team. Others can't do right back to his level, but others are being put in position to do that. And that's what I find a bit strange, because it's quite clearly hindering them. If you don't have a specialist left back, right back, you're going to be in weaker positions. And whether it's Paolo Recce playing in that right side, whether it's Sheridan playing same position, the right side, we've seen him play there, we've seen him play on the left, whether it's Corbin Piper playing up top, it's not a major factor. We probably shouldn't have talked about it for this long, but it is something that stops you playing from your best football. It's something that keeps you out of the finals, is when you are not playing to the best of your ability, because you have players who can do the job, yes, but they don't excel in that job. Whereas there's players who, like T-Pain, excels in that right back position. Sheridan does not excel in the right back position. Paolo Recce does not excel in that position. They can do the job, plug the hole, but I don't really think those are winning selections.
I guess when you're trying to be that versatile, it becomes less about the positions where like the positions that players can play, and more about like the profiles that they bring to the position. So it's like, do you I don't know, what's an example? Well, what we're talking about with Recce is like, if you put him there, he's not a dribbler, he's not a fast player, he's not going to make overlapping runs, but he is going to be good in possession, and he's going to hold a certain type of position. In this case, maybe less of a fullback position, but still, like you're going to be able to, like, he's going to bring the style of player that he is, whether he's a midfielder or a striker or whatever. Like, there are certain characteristics that Recce will have wherever he plays. Baseball's a bit more reductive.
No, they pick players based on characteristics. That's what Brendan McCullum does. He says, you bowl 140 Ks, you're this tall, you got this release action, where you have these characteristics. Shoaib Bashir, you have these characteristics as a spinner, we're going to select you and not play you. Batters, characteristics, score quickly, play this shot, play that shot. To me, that's a losing thing.
Yeah, well, the evidence would back that up.
If the Phoenix are playing Paolo Recce at right back, Sheridan left back, they're losing.
Well, what you're doing, if you're like, what I'm saying about the about the profile thing, if you're playing Sheridan and Recce as your wide defenders, regardless of what the score happens to be, there's certain They're both going to be solid on the ball. They're both going to retain it, probably with a lot of backwards passes to the centre backs and sideways to Alex Rufer. You're not going to get bomb and forward. Like neither of them is going to be attacking. Yeah. So it's like a game situation. What are you looking for in these different things? And I think Chiefy, who again, like I really like him as a coach. I see the progression he's trying to make with the Phoenix team this year. I do think he has a weakness for trying to shoehorn certain players into teams as players that he trusts because his overall kind of mentality leans to, at least for this season, leans towards trying to be a position-based team. He's picking a lot of position. Finra Conchi playing a lot of as a central midfielder, playing as an attacking player at the start of the season, even though he did really well there. Like there's plenty of good examples of this as well we could come up with, but he does have a tendency at the moment to lean towards those types of players, which as we've spoken about in the past as well, is also like a bit of academy mind of those are the type of players you get coming out of an academy where where everyone's got the same coaching and for like 5-6 years in a row and blah blah blah. You get a lot of well-rounded players who all have a midfielder skill set and maybe not the kind of X factor stuff. And he seems to favor those players in his selections for good and for ill. Like there's them not being able to find a winner when they were well on top against Adelaide on the weekend. It's a bad example of it. There have been games where this has worked well for them, having these sort of like well-rounded but maybe not X factor players in different roles. But I can't help but feel like Luke Brooks-Smith is an X factor player who seems like he's not getting enough minutes. Matt Sheridan is a well-rounded player who seems like he's getting too many minutes. You know what I mean? Like there seems like there's a tendency there where maybe if the balance shifted just a bit towards the median rather than pushing to, that might just serve them well and get them get them scoring a few more goals, converting a few more chances for starters.
Wellington Phoenix women had a loss, but they had a solid comeback. The goal, which was I think it was a long ball from Walker right back to Michaela Brooke Nunn. Brooke Nunn sent the long ball, yeah. And Michaela Wood did the header. She looks like a solid replacement for Samba, but that movement started with Emma Pijnenburg whipping a pass around the opposition players to get it to Brooke Nunn on the wide right position. We were arguing too long to really go deeper into the Wellington Phoenix, but into the women's team, but I do love Emma Pijnenburg. The way she moves the ball to the sidelines reminds me of Rufa, and I think there is a opportunity. I don't know what the status of CJ Bott is, but Pijnenburg and CJ Bott in the midfield, I think that can work really well for the Wellington Phoenix women, and I love that signing of Pijnenburg, but I wanted to highlight that because quite often the highlights don't go that far back, right? Like, and you don't see how the movements start, but that one pass, to me, like it's a two-pass move. The first pass is just as important as the second pass. And the second pass is the assist for goal. But Pijnenburg cut out 3 defenders with one pass to get the ball to Brooke Nunn. Bang, you're away. So I want to shout out Emma Pijnenburg and her impact for the Wellington Phoenix women and maybe forecast with how that midfield looks.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned her because she's a player that I've thought a bit about and how she fits into this team, because there was my first instinct whenever there's like a New Zealander who leaves an overseas opportunity to come back to the A-League it makes me think you've gone backwards. Like the A-League is the springboard to those clubs, but then often there's like and in Emma Pijnenburg's case, certainly that was like she has 6 months left on her contract and she's only playing sporadic minutes off the bench. Like, why would you not go play in a thing? This is going to help her springboard into her next European move, is having a good spell at Wellington Phoenix. So that all made sense. But I saw it reported probably by people who don't watch the Football Ferns a lot as like Football Ferns midfielder comes back to the Wellington. This is like a signing on par with CJ Bott and Vic Hessen, which it's not, because Emma Pijnenburg debuted last year. We've only just changed years, so it's the first time I've been caught out by that. I made it 13 days. That's not too bad. She debuted last year and she's never started a game. She's come off the bench like 8 times. I think she played like 8 out of 10 games or something last year. So she is someone who's worked her way into regular squads, but she's never started a game for the national team. She is 21 years old, something like that. Like, this is a young Kiwi probably more still on a prospect level than a full professional. She's had very good training experience, and she's had sort of occasional starts, mostly as a fullback, just trying to, there you go, midfielder to defense. Like there was an injury in one year, and she got a run at playing at like right back for a while. Other than that, she's mostly only played off the bench. She's not an established international. She's not an established professional. She's someone who's like establishing herself. And I think that's valuable to look at, like of good context at least to know when you're trying to think about how she fits into the team, because she isn't someone who has the pedigree to just like walk straight into a starting lineup. And yet I also am trying to come up with ways of like, well, yeah, but how do you get into a starting lineup? Because I think she offers something that the team doesn't have otherwise. And I was surprised that Daisy Brazendale got the start ahead of her against Melbourne City. I think that was more with CJ Bott out. I think that was more just a case of like Brazendale is the better defensive player, a bigger body, more combative against a Melbourne City team that might not be sitting at the very top of the A-League table, but that's only because they've got so many games in hand because they had to play Champions League games, Champions League, which they were runners up at last year. So, you know, they're not just the best team in Australia. They're one of the best teams in all of Asia. And yeah, I think I assume that was the reasoning behind it. Is this needed someone who could be a bit more physical and roughen them up, but it didn't work because Melbourne City outplayed them pretty comfortably in that first half. And then when Pijnenburg came on, I think it was at halftime or soon after it, bringing a little bit of guile, bringing a little bit of passing, but more sort of perceptive eye to the thing, which frankly, like she has a more perceptive passing eye than CJ Bott does in that position. Arguably a more perceptive passing eye than Grace Jale does. Grace Jale has the better sort of long passing game, but not the better short passing game, even though I think like both Bott and Jale have been really excellent for the most part. And I do think that the absence of CJ Bott in the last two games has led to their defensive record slipping slightly, because a lot of them, like Melbourne City, one of those goals was a cutback to where a midfielder should have been tracking. CJ Bott's probably going to be there. She wasn't there because she's out injured. There's the two goals they conceded from like shots on the edge or just outside the box in the previous game. Sort of chances where CJ Bott's probably getting a lot closer to those shooters to slow them down. But yeah, just even watching Emma Pijnenburg playing for Western Springs a few years ago in the National League, like she had such a tendency to be able to hit just a killer creative pass. A lot of assists coming from deeper midfield roles just because she can find a through ball and she can hit it with the right weight, with the right timing. That is a level of sort of, guile that the Phoenix could really use, and she's coming at a good time to be able to provide that. So I'm expecting to see a fair bit of her moving forward.
Beauty. That is our podcast for this week. We'll be back on Thursday on Patreon, and for the paid Substack subscribers, big up yourself, kia kaha, stay beautiful, cheer.